They paved paradise to put up a bank. That's the tragic story of the Garden of Allah, one of 15 legendary Hollywood landmarks that the city simply demolished. Join us as we explore the glamorous ruins and the scandalous stories behind the lost geography of Tinseltown. The Palace of Dreams, demise of the Ambassador Hotel in Coconut Grove. It wasn't just a nightclub. It was a tropical fantasy built on Wilshire Boulevard, a place where Rudolph Valentino danced beneath twinkling star-like lights. This was the true living room of Hollywood royalty, where dreams were celebrated and history was made, only to vanish like a forgotten film reel. Yet, for all its dazzling glamour, its final, inescapable moment of fame would be a sudden, shattering tragedy. When the Ambassador Hotel opened its doors in 1921, it was immediately crowned a palace of dreams. Boasting over 1,000 rooms, lush gardens, and a private golf course, the sprawling property was a beacon of glamour. This immense scale reflected the rising prosperity of Los Angeles in the wake of the First World War. Yet, its true crown jewel was hidden inside, the world-famous Coconut Grove nightclub. The Grove was unlike anything Los Angeles had ever seen. Designed with magnificent palm trees, imported directly from the set of Valentino's silent film, The Sheik, and decorated with lights that mimicked a starry tropical night, it created an illusion of paradise beneath Hollywood's roof, a perfect escape from reality. From its opening, the Coconut Grove became the definitive spot for Hollywood's elite. It was here that stars like Clara Bow and Bing Crosby laughed and held court, often late into the night, sharing cocktails and striking deals. It was here, too, where the smooth voice of Frank Sinatra serenaded the dance floor, captivating audiences with his effortless charm. The sheer wattage of talent gathered nightly beneath its glowing ceiling made the Coconut Grove an indispensable part of the era's social history. The hotel's prestige was solidified when the Academy Awards were hosted there multiple times throughout the 1930s and early 1940s, etching the Ambassador's name permanently into the history of cinema. These elaborate ceremonies brought unparalleled worldwide attention to the beautiful Wilshire landmark. However, the golden shine, like so much of Hollywood's physical landscape, could not last forever. By the 1960s, the elegance faded. Newer, sleeker resorts stole the spotlight, and the Ambassador, once the pinnacle of luxury, began to show its age and lose its exclusive clientele. The changing city rhythm left the enormous property struggling to maintain its elite status, slowly falling into disrepair. The final sorrowful chapter began in 1968. The Ambassador became the infamous site where Senator Robert F. Kennedy suffered a sudden and shocking end, was tragically shot. That deeply unsettling event irrevocably sealed the hotel's destiny, tainting its beautiful history with an association with violence. For decades afterward, the building stood abandoned, caught in a limbo between celebrated history and disheartening neglect. A silent, empty shell, so thoroughly forgotten that it was even used for paintball games before being finally brought down. A journalist once wrote, "The Coconut Grove was Hollywood's living room. Everyone passed through it at least once." Today, nothing remains of its sparkling chandeliers or palm-lined dance floor. The hotel was finally demolished in 2005, its remains paving the way for a modern school complex. The site where Hollywood royalty once reigned supreme is now a place of learning, a stark reminder that in Tinseltown, even the most legendary palaces are temporary. Though the music has long since ceased, its echo remains in the old photographs, reminding us of the nights when Hollywood gathered beneath its glowing ceiling. To understand how the studios themselves manufactured this glamour, we must now journey to the vanishing worlds of the Metro-Goldwyn-Mayer backlot, the canvas of creation, the vanishing worlds of the MGM backlot. If Hollywood was a dream, then the Metro-Goldwyn-Mayer backlot was the 180-acre canvas where entire worlds were painted. Here, plywood and paint became the yellow brick road, the grand streets of New York, in the sweeping plantations of the American South. This was the legendary engine room, where magic was manufactured daily, fueling an entertainment empire. Built in the 1920s in Culver City, the vast Metro-Goldwyn-Mayer property was larger than many small towns across America, reflecting the unlimited budgets and creative power of the Golden Age studio system. It was an astonishing city of make-believe where entire worlds were constructed and torn down on demand. From southern mansions and European villages to a magnificent replica of Grand Central Terminal, the sheer scope was designed to convince the audience that anything was possible on the silver screen. It was on these same backlots that generations of film lovers first journeyed with Judy Garland toward Oz, watched Clark Gable grapple with fire and war in epic productions, and saw Elizabeth Taylor blossom into a screen queen in lavish productions. At its height, Metro-Goldwyn-Mayer, the studio of the Roaring Lion, famously claimed to have more stars than there are in heaven. And it was this backlot where they shone the brightest, utilizing every corner for their powerful cinematic output. Directors created cinematic landmarks, transforming ordinary materials into living magic, filling the studio's massive output with romances, comedies, and dramas that defined the golden age for millions around the globe. The sheer creative energy that pulsed through these constructed streets was palpable, making it the most powerful studio in the world for decades. But as the 1960s dawned, the golden age of the all-powerful studio system began to fade. Television had reshaped American entertainment, fracturing the movie-going habit, and Metro-Goldwyn-Mayer, despite its unparalleled legacy, started to falter under financial strain. The era of building entire cities for films that ran for months was over, replaced by a more frugal and decentralized approach to production. In a heartbreaking effort to stay afloat, the studio made a devastating decision in 1970. It began to auction off costumes, treasured props, and eventually much of the very land that had been the foundation of its empire. Iconic sets that had stood for 40 years, including the beloved Andy Hardy Street and the detailed Tarzan jungle, were brutally bulldozed. Neighborhoods built for cinema were dismantled, and decades of movie history were erased almost overnight. A reporter who witnessed the immense auction described it with sorrow, noting that it felt like watching the end of Hollywood itself, history being sold off for pennies on the dollar. Today, the sprawling land where Dorothy once skipped toward her destiny is now covered by condominiums, office buildings, and commercial space. The ability to create entire worlds from the ground up and keep them standing for posterity has vanished from this spot. The magic may be gone from sight, but in every classic Metro-Goldwyn-Mayer picture, the backlot still lives, humming with the sound of action and the laughter of the stars who once walked its temporary streets. From the stages of pure creation, we move to the place where the deals and gossip were served, the iconic Brown Derby. Served on a plate, where gossip and genius mingled at the Brown Derby. It was impossible to miss. A restaurant literally shaped like a giant brown derby hat, a cheerful, whimsical symbol of Hollywood's self-aware charm. But inside this peculiar structure, serious history unfolded, where deals were struck and the social fabric of the Golden Age was woven over cocktails and candlelight. Few landmarks captured the intimate charm of Hollywood dining quite like the Brown Derby. When the original restaurant opened its doors in 1926 on Wilshire Boulevard, its unique hat-shaped design instantly turned it into a city icon. Yet, its fame rested less on its shape and more on the remarkable clientele it attracted. The Brown Derby quickly became an extension of the Hollywood studio system itself. It was the place where new scripts were pitched, contracts were sealed with a handshake, and entire careers could be forged over a table, often by mere coincidence. The most famous location, however, opened on Vine Street near Hollywood Boulevard in 1929. With its elegant booths and white tablecloths, this location became a veritable second home for the stars. Lucille Ball, Clark Gable, and Carroll Lombard were all regulars, frequently photographed, either arriving or departing, their glamorous images captured for posterity. Reporters, for instance, would often wait outside specifically to catch Clark Gable's arrival or exit, confirming or denying the latest rumors for the morning papers, making the restaurant a source of constant headline fodder. For the city's powerful columnists, like Luella Parsons and Hedda Hopper, the Derby was absolutely essential. Seated in their customary booths, they could observe the latest romances or rivalries unfolding over dinner, transforming casual conversations into international headlines. The Derby's menu was equally legendary. The Cobb salad, now a staple across the country, was first created right here by the owner, Robert Cobb, in the late 1930s, becoming a taste of Hollywood exported worldwide and permanently changing lunch menus everywhere. For years, the restaurant embodied the spirit of the era, a place where fame and power mingled in a perfect blend of high society and delicious comfort. But as the 1960s and 70s progressed, studios declined and the city modernized. The star of the Brown Derby inevitably began to fade. The Vine Street location, the heart of the social scene, closed its doors in 1985, and the whimsical, original, hat-shaped building had long since been demolished. Today, only fragments remain to tell the full story. A fiberglass replica hat at a theme park, archives of famous photographs, and the nostalgic memories shared by those who once ate beneath its curved, distinctive walls. The Brown Derby wasn't just a place to eat. It was, as one critic perfectly summed up, Hollywood itself, served on a plate. Though gone, it remains one of the most enduring symbols of the Golden Age's social energy, reminding us that the greatest drama often played out right over dessert. The fading elegance of dining, however, pales in comparison to the dramatic, chaotic decline of one of the Golden Age's most daring film factories, RKO Studios. The comet of creativity, the daring, dazzling decline of RKO Studios. No studio burned faster or brighter, like a magnificent comet, than Radio Keith Orpheum, or RKO as it was known. Though not the largest of the 5 major studios, it was here that Hollywood's most daring and innovative spirits created eternal magic, from the roar of King Kong to the elegant, feather-light glide of Ginger Rogers. Founded in 1928, RKO quickly grew into one of the Big 5 studios of Hollywood's golden age. Its compact lot pulsed with extraordinary innovation, fostering films that would become legendary classics and setting new standards for the entire industry. At RKO, audiences first watched in amazement as a giant ape, King Kong, climbed the Empire State Building in 1933, forever changing special effects and cinematic ambition. Years later, cinema history was further remade here, with Orson Welles' groundbreaking Citizen Kane in 1941, a masterpiece that redefined filmmaking and narrative structure. Yet, RKO is perhaps best remembered for the sheer joy it brought to the screen. The studio was the devoted home for the sophisticated, defining musical partnership of Fred Astaire and Ginger Rogers. On its sound stages, their footsteps wove a magical tapestry of dance, their elegant musicals providing vital, escapist pleasure during the Great Depression and establishing a genre standard. The iconic RKO Globe logo, spinning before a picture, was a promise of sophistication, creativity, and risk-taking, a reputation the studio continuously lived up to despite its internal struggles. But behind the dazzling veneer, RKO constantly faced severe financial troubles. Unlike the robust stability of Metro-Goldwyn-Mayer, ownership shifted repeatedly, creating a chaotic environment that frustrated talent and disrupted production schedules. The final strange turning point came in the late 1940s when the eccentric billionaire Howard Hughes famously took over. His management style was legendarily unique. He slowed production to a crawl, alienated top talent, and drove the studio into a spiral of decline. Hughes, for example, infamously demanded that all the studio's bras in the costume department be meticulously tested for engineering support, effectively stalling countless productions for weeks over frivolous engineering demands. By 1957, the once powerful studio had effectively collapsed, unable to recover from the years of mismanagement. The lot was eventually sold off to Desilu Productions, the pioneering television company founded by Lucille Ball and Desi Arnaz. Thus, a studio defined by cinematic daring was repurposed for the small-screen revolution that helped end the Golden Age. Though the original RKO no longer exists as an entity, its spirit is beautifully preserved. The films made on its stages, from screwball comedies to shadowy film noir masterpieces, are still studied, loved, and celebrated today. RKO truly burned fast and bright, leaving behind a trail of cinematic brilliance that remains impossible to forget. This corporate chaos was a world away from the bohemian peace found just blocks away at the Garden of Allah Hotel. The Bohemian Oasis, farewell to the Garden of Allah Hotel. Nestled just off the roar of Sunset Boulevard stood a sanctuary, the Garden of Allah Hotel. It wasn't merely a grand hotel. It was a state of mind for the creative elite who craved freedom, conversation, and a life lived away from the stifling control of the powerful studio system. The Garden of Allah began its life not as a commercial venture, but as the private mansion of silent film star Alla Nazimova. In 1927, she converted her magnificent estate into a Mediterranean-style hotel and bungalow complex. It immediately attracted a clientele unlike any other in Hollywood. With its 25 individual villas and lush gardens surrounding a central pool, it quickly became a haven for writers, actors, and directors, people who were more bohemian than royal, seeking inspiration and community outside the formal constraints of Tinseltown. The Garden of Allah was arguably the most alive place in Los Angeles. Its gates opened to a crossroads of talent and delightful eccentricity. Legends of literature, including F. Scott Fitzgerald and Humphrey Bogart, called it home for months at a time, finding inspiration by its sparkling poolside. Dorothy Parker, for instance, famously wrote witty, dark poetry right by the legendary winding pool. Actors such as Earl Flynn were known to drop in regularly, drawn by the promise of uninhibited company. Here, conversations over cocktails stretched into the dawn. Scripts were scribbled by hand, and parties blurred the lines between myth and reality. The spirit of the place fostered creativity and challenged conformity, attracting those who felt stifled by the rigid morality of the era. By the 1940s and 50s, the hotel's reputation as a sanctuary for free spirits grew stronger, but so did its challenges. Hollywood was changing, and the bohemian glamour that had defined the Garden of Allah began to fade against the backdrop of a modernizing city. The land upon which it stood, situated right on Sunset Boulevard, became increasingly valuable to developers who saw little worth in artistic tradition compared to maximizing commercial value. The final, sorrowful chapter for the Garden of Allah arrived in 1959. The beautiful property, that glorious haven, was brought down to make way for a bank, an act that many locals regarded as the symbolic erasure of a significant cultural landmark, sacrificing soul for commerce. Writer Gore Vidal once lamented that the demolition was an irreplaceable loss to the soul of the city, a true end of an era. Though its fountains and bungalows are long gone, the legend of the Garden of Allah endures. Its memory is preserved in the whispered stories of late-night laughter, brilliant, unscripted conversations, and the vibrant spirit of independent creativity that once flourished behind its sheltering walls. The loss of such a unique haven leaves us wondering, if you could have spent one evening inside any of these lost landmarks, which one would it be? Share your dream night in the comments below. Now we leave the sanctuary of the Sunset Strip for the monumental Art Deco splendor of the Pacific Auditorium, the Cathedral of Art Deco, the fire that claimed the Pacific Auditorium. It looked like a structure plucked from a futuristic film. 4 soaring turquoise towers and magnificent sweeping curves that housed the beating heart of Los Angeles's cultural life. The Pan-Pacific Auditorium was not just a venue. It was a cathedral of streamlined modern architecture that promised glamour and excitement to every guest. Its sheer scale ensured it was one of the city's proudest stages for Hollywood's biggest events, reflecting the boundless optimism of its time. When it opened in 1935, on Beverly Boulevard, the Pan-Pacific Auditorium was immediately hailed as a marvel of modern design. The massive, beautiful structure could accommodate more than 6,000 people, instantly establishing itself as Los Angeles's premier indoor venue for a variety of grand cultural events. Its unique architectural style, with the signature four towers and elegant facade, captured the optimism and sophisticated design trends of the decade, making it instantly recognizable. Hollywood embraced the auditorium wholeheartedly. It was the place where the city gathered in style for every manner of spectacle. From dazzling ice skating shows to significant political rallies, from spectacular car exhibitions to star-studded film openings, the Pan-Pacific played host to them all. In the 1940s, it even held the prestigious Academy Awards, further cementing its legacy as a vital stage for Hollywood glamour and national attention. Stars and citizens alike mingled beneath its magnificent roof, celebrating the city's rapid growth and soaring ambition. Yet, as the decades advanced, the auditorium's fortunes began to shift. Newer, more modern venues, such as the Los Angeles Memorial Sports Arena, started to draw the massive crowds away, gradually eroding the Pan-Pacific's essential role. By the 1970s, the once bustling Pan-Pacific Auditorium stood largely abandoned. Its vibrant turquoise paint peeled slowly, its grand facade faded, and the structure became a poignant symbol of neglect, despite its incredible architectural significance. Its final, tragic end arrived in 1989. The neglected building was consumed by a devastating fire, suffered great destruction by fire. The immense blaze left only the charred, ghostly remains of its iconic towers standing against the sky. A heartbreaking sight that broke the hearts of Angelenos, who remembered its golden era of sophistication and excitement. One historian sorrowfully referred to the event as the collapse of a cathedral of Art Deco that Los Angeles let slip away, consumed by apathy. Today, the actual Pan-Pacific Auditorium is gone. A small recreation of its famous facade stands at a local theme park, offering a faint echo of what once was. But for over 50 years, the Pan-Pacific was the true cultural center of the city, a place where the sophisticated dreams of Hollywood's design met the vibrant life of the community. Its memory endures as a reminder that even structures of great beauty and size can be erased by time and indifference. Next, we step off the boulevard and look behind the grandest screen illusion of all, Grauman's Chinese Theater. Behind the Dragon's Veil, the vanished annex of Grauman's Chinese Theater millions still flock to the famous handprints outside Grauman's Chinese Theater, where the forecourt remains an enduring icon. But few realize that much of the original magic was hidden, stretching far beyond the ornate facade, into a complex whose beating heart was quietly taken away. When the Chinese Theater first opened its massive red columns in 1927, it was designed as an elaborate, immersive experience, bringing an exotic fantasy to Hollywood Boulevard. The famous forecourt, where stars like Marilyn Monroe and John Wayne left their impressions in the cement, was only the glamorous public face. In its earliest decades, the theater complex included a vast backstage area, an annex that have long since vanished from the landscape, parts essential to the theater's operation. This unseen area, hidden behind the dramatic dragon motifs, was where Hollywood's grandest illusions were meticulously crafted and managed. The annex housed rehearsal spaces, elaborate costume storage, and additional screening rooms that supported the immense pageantry that dazzled audiences on every opening night. It was here, out of the spotlight, that technicians and designers prepared the spectacular sets and promotional displays. For fans, the main auditorium was the dream, But the annex was the reality that made the dream possible, a true hive of activity. As Hollywood grew more crowded and the city around the boulevard underwent rapid development, these additional structures were increasingly viewed as outdated or unnecessary. The original vision of the theater complex yielded to the pressures of modernization and maximizing street-front commercial space. By the 1950s and 60s, redevelopment efforts began to chip away at the complex. Much of the annex was torn down, and the land was repurposed for commercial use, forever altering the original footprint. This meant that a vital, physical piece of one of Hollywood's most legendary theaters was erased. A journalist at the time observed that while the Chinese theater's glow remained, its necessary and dynamic heart behind the curtains was quietly removed. The change symbolized a shift in the industry, less emphasis on physical pageantry prepared on site, and more on streamlined commercial efficiency. Today, the surviving forecourt and magnificent auditorium continue to draw millions, serving as one of the most recognized images of the film capital. Yet, the vanished annex and backlot remind us that much of Hollywood's rich history lived not just in the bright light of premieres, but in the unseen working spaces that labored tirelessly to make the glamour possible. Now let us turn our attention to the noblest purpose a Hollywood location ever served: the heartfelt generosity of the Hollywood Canteen. Serving morale, the heartfelt legacy of the Hollywood Canteen. During the dark, difficult years of the Second World War, Hollywood found a deeply personal way to contribute to the war effort. The Hollywood Canteen was a simple nightclub, but its staff was the most dazzling in the world, a beautiful, temporary symbol of unity, gratitude, and cinematic kindness. The Canteen opened its doors in 1942, the generous brainchild of actors Bette Davis and John Garfield. Located on Cahuenga Boulevard, the design of the space was modest and functional. Yet what made it extraordinary was its operational rule. Admission was absolutely free for every member of the armed forces, with the single requirement being that one had to arrive in uniform. This was no ordinary canteen. Every single night, Hollywood's biggest and brightest stars volunteered their precious time, offering a taste of home and a glimpse of magic before servicemen shipped out overseas. The greatest legends of the screen served food, danced, and washed dishes alongside one another in a truly democratic spirit. Imagine the surprise of a young soldier being served coffee by the enigmatic Marlene Dietrich, or finding himself dancing with the luminous Rita Hayworth. More than 3,000 stars took shifts, serving simple sandwiches and signing autographs. James Cagney often greeted guests at the door, ensuring every person in uniform felt welcomed and honored. The atmosphere within the canteen was electric and deeply human. Between live bands and dancing, the servicemen could momentarily forget the uncertainties of the conflict, experiencing a cherished moment of connection and kindness that meant everything. Warner Brothers recognized the profound emotional value of the venue, producing a feature film in 1944, Hollywood Canteen, to honor the institution and the thousands of volunteers. The canteen's function was not merely to serve food. It was, as Bette Davis later reflected, to serve morale. It was a sacred space where the chasm between the untouchable glamour of the silver screen and the hard reality of the front line evaporated. Here, the stars came down to earth, offering profound gratitude through simple acts of service and companionship. After the war concluded in 1945, the canteen, having served its beautiful and patriotic purpose, gradually closed its doors. By 1946, the building was eventually torn down. Yet, its legacy remains one of the most moving stories of the era, proving that Hollywood's generosity was as powerful as its spectacle. From the unity of the war effort, we listen for the glamorous voices that once filled the Art Deco masterpiece of NBC Radio City. Where Hollywood spoke, the lost tower of NBC Radio City. Long before the blue glow of television settled over American living rooms, radio was the heart of home entertainment. And in Hollywood, its elegant palace was NBC Radio City. It was an Art Deco marvel where the nation listened to the stars and where the world first heard Hollywood speak. Opening its doors in 1938 at the legendary corner of Sunset and Vine, the building was a masterpiece of modern design, gleaming with polished glass and steel. It quickly became the undisputed hub of broadcasting on the West Coast, drawing massive audiences eager to witness live shows. The soaring tower and its iconic national broadcasting company logo lit up Sunset Boulevard, a vibrant beacon for the golden years of radio. It earned the affectionate nickname Hollywood's Radio City, a nod to its famous counterpart in New York. Inside its technologically advanced studios, some of the most famous programs of the entire era were broadcast across the nation. Audiences sat just feet away from the legends they had only heard through the airwaves. Jack Benny cracked his jokes to packed houses. Bing Crosby's smooth voice carried warmth from coast to coast. And Bob Hope honed his famously quick wit for millions of listeners. This was the location where the powerful, unseen magic of sound was perfected and transmitted, a place where the intimacy of radio met the spectacle of Hollywood. Radio City was a place of innovation. It was one of the first complexes specifically designed to integrate the vast machinery of broadcasting with the glamorous presence of the stars. The building itself was a vital piece of the Golden Age's infrastructure, symbolizing the era when sound was king and attracting the greatest vocal talents of the time. For fans, lining the streets hoping to catch a glimpse of Lucille Ball or Humphrey Bogart arriving for a broadcast was a common thrill, creating a palpable energy that surrounded the studios. But by the 1950s, a monumental shift was underway. Television began its rapid ascent, replacing radio as America's primary form of entertainment. The grand live studios that had once hosted booming broadcasts fell quiet. The necessity of maintaining such a lavish, specialized facility vanished with the changing technology. By the early 1970s, the inevitable arrived. The once proud, gleaming building was torn down, replaced by new, uninspired commercial developments. The tower that had long served as a guidepost for Hollywood's speaking voice was gone. Today, the location is unrecognizable from its former glory. Yet, as one radio historian later wrote, NBC Radio City was where the world first heard Hollywood speak. From the Palace of Broadcasting, we turn to the grand spectacle that rivaled Broadway, the dazzling world of the Earl Carroll Theater. The most beautiful girls, the dazzling spectacle of the Earl Carroll Theater. On Sunset Boulevard, a massive neon sign promised, "Through these portals pass the most beautiful girls in the world." This was showman Earl Carroll's guarantee of high glamour, audacious theater, and dazzling spectacle that lit up the Hollywood night. The Earl Carroll Theater and Restaurant opened in 1938, bringing the lavish spirit of New York's Broadway revues directly to the West Coast. Its creator, the showman Earl Carroll, intended for the venue to be the definitive hotspot for dining and entertainment, combining a fine supper club setting with musical productions that rivaled the famous Ziegfeld Follies. The theater itself was a marvel of Hollywood excess, featuring a 1,000-seat auditorium and an elegant dining floor. The venue was renowned for its astonishing chorus lines, daring choreography, and eye-popping costumes. This was the pinnacle of Hollywood nightlife, attracting both the curious tourists and the city's most established movie stars. Celebrities of the silver screen, including Gary Cooper and Clark Gable, often appeared in the audience, mingling with everyday patrons beneath the glittering chandeliers and the glow of neon light, becoming part of the spectacle themselves. At the height of its fame in the 1940s, the Earl Carroll Theater stood as an unapologetically bold symbol of Hollywood's extravagance. Its most striking feature was the immense neon portrait of entertainer Beryl Wallace that dominated the facade, becoming one of the most iconic and recognizable signs in all of Los Angeles, a true landmark of the boulevard. It was a promise that Hollywood would always dazzle after dark. But, As with many of Hollywood's physical promises, glamour proved fragile. Following Earl Carroll's passing in 1953, the venue changed hands multiple times, and its shining star began to fade. The era of grand, live stage revues was yielding to the efficiency of the burgeoning television industry. By the 1960s, the building was converted into a television studio. It was later rebranded as the Aquarius Theater during the countercultural era, taking on a completely different identity. Though the original building still stands today, under various new names and purposes, the original Earl Carroll magic is gone. The promise of unparalleled spectacle and dazzling excess faded when the enormous neon signs were taken down. As one writer captured it best, the Earl Carroll Theater was less a building than a promise that Hollywood would always dazzle after dark. Its neon may have dimmed, but its legend remains vividly written. Now we shift from bold spectacle to quiet elegance, stepping into the refined, coral-colored world of Perino's restaurant. Dining in Coral, the refined elegance of Perino's restaurant. For nearly half a century, Perino's was less a restaurant and more a declaration of Hollywood elegance. To sit within its coral-colored walls and beneath its impeccable white linen was to believe, just for a moment, that you truly belonged among the cinematic elite. Founded in 1932 by the Italian restaurateur Alexander Perino, the establishment quickly distinguished itself by offering an atmosphere where high glamour met crucial privacy. The original location established its reputation before it moved in 1950 to a magnificent new building. This second location was architecturally significant, a masterpiece of mid-century modern design created by Paul Revere Williams, one of Hollywood's first prominent African-American architects. His sleek, refined interiors perfectly matched the sophisticated atmosphere Perino had cultivated, creating a true temple of fine dining. Perino's was not merely a place for nourishment. It was a sanctuary where Hollywood's most important transactions occurred. Studio heads sealed contracts within its discreet booths, while stars enjoyed its famous European cuisine with an assurance of seclusion and anonymity. Legends like Elizabeth Taylor, Frank Sinatra, and Lucille Ball were regulars, relying on the restaurant's grace and discretion. The menu itself was a testament to sophisticated dining. Elaborate desserts, comforting soufflés, and refined veal dishes, all served with a formality that was rapidly vanishing from American culture. The establishment operated as a vital social institution, bridging the old world formality of Europe with the burgeoning celebrity culture of California. It was the quintessential setting for power lunches and glamorous dinners throughout the 1940s and 50s. The impeccable service served as a constant reminder of the high standards that defined the Golden Age. However, like so many physical landmarks of that era, Perino's was not immune to the march of time. The shifting dining culture and the decline of the all-powerful studio system gradually dimmed its prestige. Though it courageously remained open until 1986, the final years saw more nostalgia than A-list clientele. Eventually, the once proud, elegant restaurant closed its doors for the last time, and its magnificent mid-century building was brought down in the 1990s. Food critic Jonathan Gold once beautifully summarized its appeal. Perino's wasn't just about the food. It was about how it made you feel. Today, its coral glow is gone, but Perino's is remembered as one of the very last true bastions of old Hollywood dining. Leaving the luxury of fine dining, we journey to a far more democratic and mythic gathering place, Schwab's Pharmacy. Over a milkshake, the mythology of Schwab's Pharmacy. On a seemingly ordinary street corner at Sunset Boulevard and Crescent Heights stood a place that became the ultimate charming symbol of the Hollywood dream, Schwab's Pharmacy. Legend promised that stardom could be found here over a simple soda, a testament to the belief that magic could happen anywhere. Opened in the 1930s, Schwab's Pharmacy quickly became far more than just a place to fill prescriptions. It transformed into a legendary gathering spot where stars, hopeful newcomers, and writers mingled in an atmosphere that was entirely unique, at once casual and absolutely electric. The most famous, enduring tale suggests that the dazzling actress Lana Turner was discovered here while simply sipping a soda. While historians suggest the story was likely a brilliant stroke of early studio publicity, the tale took root deep within the mythology. Schwab's became synonymous with the romantic idea that fortune and fame could be found in the most unassuming of places, a true Hollywood miracle. The pharmacy served as an informal, essential office for many of the Golden Age's most creative minds. Celebrities like Judy Garland and the enigmatic Orson Welles were often regulars, using the counter like a private dining booth. The great writer F. Scott Fitzgerald frequently sat here, working diligently on his final screenplays. For countless others, Schwab's was where deals were quietly proposed, scripts were traded, and gossip was exchanged, all under the bright, everyday, fluorescent lights of a neighborhood drugstore. It was a space that democratized Hollywood, offering a casual alternative to the exclusivity of the Brown Derby or Perinos. But as the 1970s dawned, the particular magic of Schwab's began its inevitable fade. Hollywood had changed its rhythm. The casual, impromptu hangout of the 30s and 40s no longer fit the city's sleek, new style. The simplicity and genuine community that defined Schwab's gave way to more fragmented social patterns and specialized venues. The final chapter for this beloved institution arrived in 1983 when Schwab's pharmacy closed its doors. The building was later brought down to make way for a contemporary shopping complex. As one journalist later remarked, Schwab's was proof that Hollywood's biggest moments didn't always happen on soundstages. Sometimes they happened, quite simply, over milkshakes. Though the counter is now gone, the beautiful dream it represented endures. From the mythic milkshake counter, we travel to Hollywood's true all-night kitchen, the Ranch Market. Hollywood's all-night kitchen, the democratic glow of the Hollywood Ranch Market. Not every Hollywood landmark required a tuxedo or a reservation. The Hollywood Ranch Market was the city's great equalizer, a 24-hour beacon where Marilyn Monroe might pick up a carton of milk alongside a tired studio stagehand finishing a late shift. In the years following the Second World War, Hollywood was buzzing not only with glamorous film premieres and exclusive nightclubs, but also with a single marketplace that never seemed to sleep. The Hollywood Ranch Market, which opened on Vine Street in the mid-1930s, quickly became a beloved casual landmark where locals and legends mingled side by side. Unlike the sophisticated restaurants like Perino's, the Ranch Market was open, welcoming, and entirely democratic at any hour of the day or night. Its stalls offered everything one might need, from fresh fruit and baked goods to hearty, simple meals. Its long counters drew a wonderfully diverse clientele. Studio workers fueled up after late-night sessions, young people cruised through the city, and genuine movie stars slipped in for a quiet snack away from the scrutiny of the press. The market became an essential, unglamorous part of the mythology of Hollywood nightlife. Celebrities such as the great writer Orson Welles and the elegant actress Marilyn Monroe were frequently spotted picking up food here. It was a common, heartwarming sight to see a screenwriter, a director, and a set builder all eating together beneath the same neon lights. One Los Angeles Times columnist lovingly called it Hollywood's all-night kitchen, and the description perfectly captured its unique spirit. It offered solace and sustenance to a town obsessed with illusion, but constantly running on human energy. The Ranch Market was a rare space that proved Hollywood wasn't only about untouchable figures on the screen, but also about the shared human need for community and comfort. It represented a simpler vision of mid-century Los Angeles, one where fame and fortune momentarily brushed shoulders with the ordinary, fostering a true sense of local life. But the 24-hour spirit of the Ranch Market could not last forever. By the 1980s, after decades of dedicated service, the market closed its doors. Its familiar neon sign was taken down, and the stalls that had once overflowed with food and life became another fading picture of Hollywood's past. Still, for those who remember its warmth, the Hollywood Ranch Market remains one of the most vivid and endearing images of the mid-century city. If these stories of lost elegance and shared community resonated with you, share this video with someone who loves the classic human side of Hollywood history. It helps us keep the magic shining. Finally, we conclude our journey by listening to the lost sound of the Warner Brothers Radio Studios. The voice of the city, the lost sounds of Warner Brothers. Hollywood Radio Studios. In the heart of the film capital, Warner Brothers didn't just capture images, they captured sound. Their Hollywood radio studios were where the city learned to speak, laugh, and sing to the world. A pioneering space where Hollywood's voice truly came alive. The Warner Brothers Hollywood Radio Studios opened in the early 1930s, becoming a highly influential space for broadcast. It was here that the magic of Hollywood was expanded far beyond the silver screen, carried by the airwaves directly into living rooms across America. While the film studios provided the visual legends, the radio studios provided the necessary continuous connection with the public, ensuring the stars maintained their hold on the nation. This was a hub of remarkable innovation. Its state-of-the-art sound stages allowed for constant experimentation with new techniques in audio recording and live performance. This commitment to quality helped to firmly establish Hollywood not only as the nation's center for film, but also for radio entertainment. The energy was palpable, drawing huge crowds. Fans often lined the surrounding streets, hoping to catch a glimpse of a star like Bette Davis or James Cagney arriving for a live broadcast, eager to feel the proximity of fame. The studios hosted some of the most iconic radio programs of the era. From the comedy shows featuring legends like Jack Benny and George Burns, to dramatic adaptations of famous Warner Brothers films, audiences could hear their favorite stars performing live. The scripts, the music, and the precise timing of the announcers ensured that each broadcast carried the same sense of glamour and tension that defined the studio's cinematic output. The Warner Brothers Radio Studios were essential for the business of stardom. Stars maintained a connection with their fans during periods between film releases, strengthening the relationships that made the golden age possible. The very walls breathed the sound of celebrity, industry, and ingenuity. By the late 1950s, however, the cultural landscape had irrevocably shifted. As television dramatically grew in popularity and radio's golden age waned, the purpose of the immense Warner Brothers radio studios gradually diminished. The elaborate sound stages, once constantly buzzing with activity, grew quiet. Eventually, the studios were demolished, replaced by modern developments, erasing a significant and physical piece of Hollywood's crucial broadcast history. The place where the city first learned to truly speak to a global audience vanished from the map. Though the physical structure is gone, the enduring voices of its stars, preserved in those broadcasts, serve as a final, beautiful testament. We now conclude our tour of Hollywood's vanished memories. The vanishing map, the shared fate of Hollywood's forgotten corners. These 14 magnificent structures, palaces of dreams, bohemian sanctuaries, and democratic diners, all share a common poignant fate. They remind us that the physical places where Hollywood's indelible magic was created are ultimately as fragile as the temporary fame they helped to launch. From the Ambassador Hotel's tragic demise to the quiet closure of the Hollywood Ranch Market, the map of the Golden Age has been irrevocably altered by time, progress, and change. Each vanished building is a quiet monument to a specific era when cinema was king, radio was queen, and the social life of the film capital was centralized and intensely glamorous. The MGM backlot, where entire cities were constructed and subsequently erased, is a testament to the sheer scale of the studio system's ambition and its eventual collapse. The Brown Derby and Perino's show the graceful decline of formal dining, where discreet booths once held more power than entire boardrooms. The Garden of Allah reminds us that Hollywood once made room for the eccentric, the bohemian, and the artistic soul, before commerce decided that a bank was a more valuable use of the land than genuine creativity. Even places dedicated to patriotism and community could not endure. The Hollywood Canteen, a beautiful symbol of wartime unity, served its purpose and then vanished. Similarly, the NBC Radio City and the Warner Brothers Radio Studios, once the vibrant voices of the nation, fell silent as the camera displaced the microphone in American homes. Perhaps the greatest lesson is that the dream of Hollywood has always struggled against the temporary nature of bricks and mortar. The myth of Schwab's pharmacy, where stars were allegedly discovered over a milkshake, endures long after the physical counter was taken down. The spectacle of the Earl Carroll Theater and the architectural grandeur of the Pacific Auditorium are now only preserved in photographs and vintage postcards. These forgotten corners and demolished landmarks are not a failure of memory, but a reflection of the town's ceaseless appetite for reinvention. Hollywood thrives on change, but sometimes, in that ruthless pursuit of the new, it loses pieces of its essential soul. The buildings may be gone, but the elegant stories of the stars, the deals, the dancing, and the dreams that flourished within their walls will remain. Thank you for joining us on this emotional journey through Hollywood's vanishing map. If these stories of lost elegance and enduring legends touched your heart, please like this video and subscribe to our channel. Your support ensures that the golden age never truly disappears.